Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace be unto you. Welcome to the State of Black Businesses. Today we're going to do part 2 of the report published by the FSIC and its partners on efforts to deny minorities participation in the U.S. economy. Man, I made some chai tea this morning and it is hitting. All right, so look, grab your coffee, grab your tea. We'll be right back. We're going to go into part 2, but part 2 is just to motivate us. Yesterday, to me, was pretty depressing, finding out what's really going on. But we're going to dive into some of the strategies that we can use and what we can control and how we can begin to work to combat this. So we'll see you all in a few on the other side of these commercials.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee. And he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee. And I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who in my judgment is the master historian, taught us that of all our studies, history is the most attractive, and it is best qualified to reward the researcher. History is most attractive. Why should history be most attractive? Because history is the recorded time of the human family in its struggle to overcome obstacles. There is no life that is without struggle. The Holy Quran teaches us that man, meaning man and woman, is made to face difficulties. And after difficulty comes ease. But it is history that guides us through difficulty. For if you know how people who had difficulty yesterday got through, and if your difficulty is somewhat similar, then today we also can get through if we follow the guidance of history. This is why Carter G. Woodson and many of our black giants fought for black people to know our history. Because in not knowing our history, we don't have a guide. And without a guide, we are lost. No wonder the Bible...
Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace be unto you. Welcome to the Sajdah channel, where we talk about life, love, and business. And our goal is to help marginalized entrepreneurs become conscious entrepreneurs and to give you tools and strategies to help you navigate the world of business. I'm your host, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad, international business and real estate developer. So welcome. Today is day 2 of our series on the report that we went over and went through yesterday. So if you missed yesterday's show, you're going to have to go back. We're not going to go back over the report today, but you're going to have to go back and listen to part 1 of this series, where we talked about a tactic that is being used by a small percentage of people that has a big impact, where major organizations, government organizations, businesses are being sued for creating programs that support Black businesses in particular. And so today I want to talk a little bit about what tools are within our tool belt that we need to be more focused on, more conscious of, so that we can begin to cushion the impact of these lawsuits. And we're gonna continue to have this conversation. We're going to be back Friday and Saturday for coffee talks, where we'll continue it. And I'm just going through another report. I've just been diving through it, that we're going to start on, God willing, Monday. Okay. But let me begin with this. There's a mental shift that I want to support in business, where a lot of financial advisors and wealth advisors and people who speak on money are trying to focus us on mimicking that wealthy 5% that we oftentimes call the white man. And a lot of us are into, well, I got to have me some passive income. I'm not trying to work. I'm not trying to do anything. Okay. Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that we should study the white man. And again, like I said, we oftentimes exchange that wealthy 5% with that term white man, because not all white people are rich and not all white people control the economy. Okay. Yes, there are certain privileges that they definitely have inherited for sure. And But when we're talking about this wealthy 5% that all of us are chasing, I think it's important to identify who and what we're talking about and what techniques that we are being told we should be chasing or deploying or mimicking, and how we got there. Okay. And I'm sorry if this is a little disjointed, because this started coming in as a download this morning when I was brushing my teeth to get ready for today. But first thing, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us to study the white man, for he makes no excuses for his failures. So we want to study. Okay, we should be studying. We should be studying business. We should be extracting things that we can use, things that support our ability to climb ourselves up out of this situation. We cannot discount the need for a power greater than ourselves. And so the importance of our spirituality and our religion. Entrepreneurship is all about spirituality. So don't believe that top wealthy 5% are not spiritual and or even religious. They probably are more spiritual and religious than everybody else, than the rest of the 95% of us. Okay. That part. But so the rejection of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on this subject, that it's rooted in Islam, is a grave mistake. Okay? Because you can't talk economics without warfare, and you can't talk economics without spirituality. Okay? And you can't talk economics without God. And if you are, then you're negating the fact that there's a God of the economic system that you are studying and attempting to practice. And we've talked about that here on the show. So when we think this propaganda that has been played in our community, not only just our community, but in the broader, more common community, that we don't have to work, is a mistake. Okay. Has work been redefined? Absolutely. Has the concept of work changed? Yes. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad again teaches us to work. When you feel sad, work. When you feel tired, work. Work. Meaning that there is an effort. There is a law of the universe that says that there is an effort that is spiritually legal. There's a spiritual legal effort that has to be put into whatever it is that you're looking to extract from the earth. Okay? And then whatever other momentum you get as a result of your work, you can attribute that to a power greater than or outside of yourself. So I see so many lectures and people talking, especially to our community, that you ain't got to work. There's passive income. Go after passive income. So everybody's chasing that fast money, that passive income. I got to get it quick. I got to get it for nothing. I got to get it for as little effort as possible. And so a lot of people in our community are chasing that. Now, passive income is real. Okay, I'm not discounting the fact that passive income is not a real thing, and it's not a plausible and possible thing, I should say. But a lot of what is negated are the work efforts that went into setting up the passive income. See, there was some work effort at some point that helped set up the possibility for income to become passive. Now, whether you did the work or the person getting the passive income did the work is left to be said, but there's some work at the root of it. And so when we are in our minds being taught to chase passive income, quick money, fast money, that becomes a big problem. Because see, here's the thing. When we're being taught that, we're being taught to chase a predator. Let me tell you what I mean. Let's say, for example, I sign you to a music deal. Okay. You write all the music. It's your creativity. It's your persona. It's your vibe. It's everything. It's from your culture. Everything is yours. And I sign you to a deal and tell you, well, in order for people to hear your music, whether it be on radio, whether it's on the internet, no matter where it is, you got to go through me and I got to get 40% of your money. So in essence, then I just go and take your music, plug you into a system that is a limited access system, meaning you obviously can't go to that system and plug yourself in. You are either under the illusion that you need me to plug you in, or you can't go plug yourself in. But for whatever reason, I need to be the one to plug you in, whether it's because that's what's in your mind, or whether it's because that's how it is, or because of what you've been taught. Okay. And all I do is just plug you into a system. That's really all I do. And maybe that's worth a service fee. That could be, maybe it's worth 2-3%. It damn sure ain't worth 40, 50, or 60%. However, you go out here, you write the music, you doing everything. It's your creative content. And then I say to you, not only am I going to plug you into a system that my friends and people that I'm connected to have allowed me to plug you into, I'm also going to own a large percentage of what you bring me to produce. Okay. So I haven't put any work or any effort in. I own, maybe your masters. I own it. And I may give you a few dollars up front to make you comfortable, because I know you come from a poverty-stricken environment. You got bills to pay. Your family has been investing in you. They want to see you make it. And your money psychology is bad and you thirsty. Okay. And I dangle that in front of you. And you say, okay, go ahead. Own my masters. Take all of it. And then take 60% of the funds. So now you are working, writing, performing, singing, doing all what you do. And I'm on the beach, on the yacht, living off of that 60% I got from you for distribution, that 100% of publishing I got from you on your masters, and everything else I get from you, I get a large percentage. And so that becomes my passive income, because I'm not doing anything. I'm making money while you working. Okay. This is the model that a lot of us have been taught to chase. We've been taught that we want to be on the other side, not necessarily from a music standpoint, but we want to be on the other side where we are making money in our sleep from somebody else's efforts. That is the predatory model that a lot of us are chasing. And we say these things and it goes around the internet. If you're not making money in your sleep, you ain't making money. And so we start chasing that, not really understanding the origin of that. If I go and kidnap you from another country, or you come here seeking asylum, for example, or I just steal you, kidnap you, bring you here, make you a slave. I don't pay you anything. I give you a small little place to live, or I could give you a nice place to live, but I don't give you any money. I make everything. All my money I make is based on your blood, sweat, and tears. That became the business model or the ideal business model of the American economy. Somebody else does the work, and then somebody else reaps more of the benefits. And so we're constantly chasing that. So when you see a lot of these lawsuits against companies that are designed, that are working to give Black entrepreneurs an opportunity and to put them in front of checks, and you see these people come and say, no, we're going to file lawsuits to make it very difficult and make it scary for these companies to help you. That's because they want you and I to continue to be in a position where we work, we can get some money, and then they get a lion's share of the money. Okay? It's the same setup even when we work in corporate America. We might be making $250,000 a year. But that $250,000 a year that has been allocated to pay you and I is generating millions, maybe in some cases, or helping to generate millions for the people on the other side. And so sometimes we don't understand that. So they're constantly telling us, you ain't making money if you don't got passive income. Understand what that means. There are some investments that you can make where you can truly earn passive income. I'm not going to give investment advice, but there are others, and in most cases, that's not possible. You still got to work. You still have to you still have to deploy something that is a law of the universe, where some effort, it may not be what you and I design or define as work, but there's some effort that has to be released from you that creates a momentum at a particular object or subject that draws benefit from it. But momentum is a law of the universe. So to say to somebody that you don't got to do nothing, you can just sit up on your you know what and make money, is tricknology. Because even if you are sitting up on your new you know what making money and you're not doing anything, somebody's doing something, and somebody's putting that effort and that momentum out into the universe at that object and causing benefit to be extracted. So whether you're breaking off a piece of that extracted benefit from somebody else, or whether it's your effort, some effort had to go into it. Okay. So we got to get out of our mind trying to get this fast money, this quick money. And I get it. A lot of us don't want to work. But I think we have to redefine work and look at it as there has to be some effort that comes from you as that source object that is laser focused onto a situation, a person, a place, and a thing that creates a momentum that causes some type of harvest or extraction that we then can take and benefit. There has to be some kind of effort. And so maybe we need to stop looking at work in the context of being a slave, or stop looking at work in the context of work as defined during the Industrial Revolution, time clock, 9 to 5. Maybe that has changed, just like work environments have changed. Now, a lot of people work from home. A lot of people use the internet. They just have a computer like this, and this is their little virtual office. So being pliable to those new definitions makes sense, but being rigid to those old ways and antiquated ways of making money is a problem. And before I show you this video on the importance of work, I want to also say this. I cannot emphasize enough that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us to work. Work meaning momentum. You got to put in the momentum. You got to have movement towards your goal. You have to work. When your goal looks like it's not going to happen, it's not going to come, some kind of effort has to go out. You may say, I'm so tired, I can't get up and shovel anymore. Well, you better be sitting on the side of the road and figure out how you're gonna put the mental energy in to either get somebody else to come help you or give yourself more energy. But some type of effort has to be coming from you that one could define as work. Okay? Let me know if that makes sense. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and show the video. And I want us to think about this concept, because here's the other thing. I'll say this. I meet so many of you as entrepreneurs who you may have started your business and you hit a lick. Okay. You came up with a great idea. You selling something, whether it's coffee, cakes, bicycles, whatever. You came up with something, you're selling it, and it starts jumping off the shelves. But then you don't know what to do when your sales start to level off. You don't know what to do when your competition comes at you and sends in a mercenary and they steal your recipe or steal your formula for success, and then they go and do it, and now your sales are going down. You don't know what to do to reinvent yourself so that your competition has to keep chasing you. See, if they have to keep chasing you because you keep making those customers fall in love with you over and over and over again, then they're in trouble. But what happens to a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we go into business, we get it started, we hit that lick, we start making money. When the revenue starts to fall off, then all of a sudden we don't know what to do. And it's because we locked ourselves into making money with very little effort, or making money with the same stagnant level of effort, or making money doing the same thing over and over and over again. But in this type of evolutionary economy, whether it's the evolution of the economy caused by the competition, or if it's simply just caused by the rotation and the evolution of the earth, and things change and people's interests change, we have to begin to continue to work, to continue to put out effort that allows us to magnify our creativity, so that people fall in love with us over and over again. And so what happens in small businesses, we get stuck. And when we hit that plateau, and then sometimes we fall off the side of the economic mountain, we don't know what to do, because we forget and we abandon our creativity efforts. See, creativity in our community has oftentimes been associated with being poor. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it like this. Creativity in our community has oftentimes been associated with struggle. Why? Because throughout our struggles, we are so creative. Every time we go through something as a people, we create a product or service that somebody else is sitting right there and says, "Ooh, thank you. I'll take that." So we create something. It could be something out of trauma. It can be something from drug. It could be anything. And we have become the symbol of creativity. And people outside of us who have learned how to monetize our culture know how to look at us and say, that's interesting. I'll extract that. And so somehow in our subconscious mind, we don't want to keep creating. We don't want to be artists. And you're an artist, whether you're a baker, whatever business owner you are, you're an artist. You hear me say that I'm a business person, but I'm an artist. Business is just my canvas. Well, that's the same for you. And so we get to the point where we don't want to create anymore. We just want the money to flow. I don't want to have to think no more. I don't want to have to invent something else. I don't want to have to come up with something new. Well, if you have that mentality, then you're going to always be behind the 8 ball, because you got to work. You got to put in some level of effort. You got to have your next product, your next service, your next gimmick in the chamber. So as soon as the competition thinks that they caught you, soon as they look on your channel and see what you wearing, how you vibing, what you saying, what you're doing, what products you're making, as soon as they do that and decide, oh, I'm going to do that too. As soon as they start trying to monetize what you've popularized, you should be ready with the next thing that you're doing. Make them constantly chase you. How do you do that? Through your creativity. Stop thinking that one day you're going to hit this passive income lick and that's it. Because that's really, really tricknology, and it's very, very deceptive. Because a lot of us think we're going to hit that big lick and I'm going to put this big old money in the bank and then I'm going to be good. But it's so tricky, because even when you put money in the bank, if you got money sitting in the bank, let's say you got $10 million sitting in the bank, and say you got $1 million sitting in the bank. Every day that it's sitting there without momentum, it is losing value and losing money. You realize that? Money only has value when it moves. So if you're not figuring out how to smart and intelligently move that money that you're sitting on, all you're doing is losing money each and every day that it just sits stagnant. So you have to think of money as energy. Money money mimics the universe. See, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad already taught us that the earth rotates around the sun. So there's movement. And then as it rotates around the sun, it is turning on its axis. So let's say the earth is moving around the sun like this. As it's moving, it's rotating. Okay. So that movement, and understanding that, we have to understand how we have to mimic the universe when it comes to extracting from the earth what it is that we want. Those are the laws of the universe that we should be looking to put into practice. He gave it to us. So it's that law of motion, that law of movement. Money is no different. And and we have to stop looking at money as a god. I know we all want it. I know we're all challenged by it. I know it's a problem. That's why they can go and sue these companies. And these companies will say, whoa, I can't really help y'all no more because it's affecting our bottom line. They know that money is the god of this world that we live in. But if you and I start to make a shift and say, no, it's not a god. It's just one of those things I need in this universe to navigate and have the choices and live the way I want to live. But I'm going to see money the way the laws of the universe work, with the momentum, with the energy and the motion. So that means I got to go to work. That means I have to be creative. Why is creativity so rewarding? And why is creativity a resource that produces culture and aspects of a culture that other people can monetize? Because creativity is mimicking the original God himself. He created himself out of triple darkness. And then he created, his first creation was his mate that he then used to reproduce himself. And then he continued to reproduce himself over and over and over and over again. And then all of these created things in this universe that he built became things that he used to sustain himself, to grow, to continue to evolve. It's the same thing for us. It's the same thing for us. You can't just say, I'm going to figure out how to make me some money so I ain't got to do nothing. You're going to have to do something. Now, whether or not you got to go punch a clock every day, or whether or not you better be sitting up at that computer with your notepad or something, reinventing and drawing. But don't you sit back and think that you won't have to do anything just because you see these wealthy people with the 5% and they appear to be sitting back doing anything. But if you look at the overall law of the universe, they're making money off of somebody putting somewhere. I hope this is making sense. Let's show video, and then I'll be back on the other side of it. It's Mark Cuban talking about business and how he sees business. And let me stop y'all, because I know a lot of times y'all get real judgmental. You don't like people, they say certain things, you got an opinion on them. Look, learn to listen to people and extract the good and leave them with whatever lack or invalidation that they are dealing with. But learn how to create your own platform by finding truth, finding something that's good, finding something that makes sense in something that someone says, regardless of whether you like them or not, regardless of whether or not somebody told you to like them or not, Put that in your platform of knowledge and you keep it moving. Stop validating the lack that is out here in the world by buying into it. We do this all the time, especially it happens with Minister Farrakhan. People say, oh, well, no, I don't listen to him. He's anti-Semitic. He's this or he's that. He's none of that. But whether you believe that or not, it should be irrelevant. It really, really should be irrelevant, because you're missing out on a wealth of knowledge all because somebody told you a lie about that person. So I'm saying when we show these videos, we are looking for knowledge that we can use and put into our arsenal, if you will, so that we can become better members of the business world and become leaders in the business world. All right. Okay. So let's see here.
You've got your best chance, because if you don't do it, it does. I have the saying, work like someone's trying to take it all away from you. I actually work like someone's spending 24 hours, working 24 hours. Whatever industry you pick, if you outwork everybody, if you try to be a little smarter than everybody, if you try to be a better salesperson than everybody, if you try to be better prepared than everybody, you've got your best chance. Because if you don't do it and somebody else does, I have the saying, work like someone's trying to take it all away from you. I actually work like someone's spending 24 hours, working 24 hours to take it all away from you. And that's kind of the way I look at it.
What would you say is the number one reason why people fail?
Lack of brains, lack of effort.
Lack of brains, lack of effort.
Yeah, they don't do the work. They don't learn. When you walk in the room, when you start a business and you start to talk about somebody, you're never in a vacuum with no competition. Unless you're just extremely lucky. And if there's going to be competition, that means somebody else knows your business as well as you do when you get started. And if you walk into a competitive environment and they still know more about the business than you do and more about your customers, you're going to lose. But most people don't consider that. They don't do the work. They don't learn more about their industry. They don't know even about their business. And so you've got to put in the effort to know more about your industry than anybody else. And that's the brains part, and that's the effort part as well. Because look, if you're competing with me, you better know what you're doing. Otherwise, I'm going to kick your ass, and not work me. And so, the combination is usually what kills businesses early on more than anything.
You could, within a 5-10 minute interview, say this dude's not going to make it as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I can typically tell, right? I can tell, but by their passion, I can tell by their focus. I can tell by their preparation. There's a whole realm of things in any business. Here's the business you're in, and here's 1,000 things that influence whether or not you're going to be successful. Through my experience in businesses, I can put myself in his position and say, okay, here are 900 of the 1,000 things he has to be aware of, and then go through and ask. And by how many of those are her issues they've been able to address already, that kind of gives me a sense of how hard they're willing to get questions to say, okay, what do you want to know? And, you know, when they start saying, what should I do?
They ask you.
Yeah, you know, and that's fine, right? And I want them to ask questions, but, you know, people like to say, you know, the only stupid questions are the ones you don't ask, and that's not right, right? Because the questions you ask tell me more about you than anything else you do. And it tells me about your preparation. Ask me questions about basic things that you should have known and you should have down to a science. That's going to qualify you almost more than anything. If you're not always, to this minute, if I'm not continuously learning, if I'm not just absorbing as much as I can absorb, right? So you about paranoia. The greatest source of your paranoia should be knowledge. If someone else knows more than you do, and if you're not learning, if you don't know if you don't know how to learn, if you don't have a thirst for learning and acquiring information, you're SOL.
Do you think there needs to be a healthy level of paranoia?
Oh, absolutely.
There needs to be.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I always say, you know, for every one of my businesses, I said, what would I do to kick my own ass? You right? So whatever business you have, there's somebody trying to put you out of business. So somebody trying to take a bite out of you. But you have to be paranoid. You have to anticipate other people's next moves, and you can't ever, you know, downplay the competition. I was at a business plan competition this morning at a college, and they were kind of being dismissive of the competition, and so you can't ever do that. They'll take you down, and they're not just going to sit still. And if you're good, really, really good, you're going to inspire them to work even harder, faster, better. And so you have to be, you know, very self-aware of what you're good at and what other people are good at. And, you know, a healthy dose of paranoia makes a big difference. I mean, it's very helpful.
Let's transition to a different subject with college.
Yep.
Right now, you got a lot of people that out of school, you know, drop out of school.
They're idiots.
So you think they're idiots? Tell me why.
If you're going to have and run a business, if you don't understand accounting, you're already behind the 8 ball.
Can't you hire a guy that knows how to
run
accounting?
But then they still have to communicate to you. Your accountant might tell you you're profitable, but your cash is going down, you know, not understanding a breakdown. And when you don't,
do you think you need college to learn that?
Yeah, I think you do, right? Because it may not, for some people, look, if you're so self-motivated that you can take an online course in accounting and teach yourself everything, you're way ahead of the game anyways. But most people aren't. I don't care if you go to a community college and take accounting and spend $99 for the class. Just, you know, spending the money forces you to be more obligated to do it. But accounting, finance, lesser extent marketing, sales, if the school offers that, these are all that's the language of business. And so while it's possible to teach yourself these things, and while it's possible to hire them in your own company, you don't want to have to spend money hiring an accountant. Well, let me tell you that if you've gone through all these classes, I don't have to hire a lawyer to incorporate, right? You can probably figure out yourself. And so your cost of opening up a business drops, but even more important than all that, that's the blocking and tackling. That's the language of business. You know, the thing I learned at Indiana that was more important than anything else, I learned how to learn. And learning became far more important to me because the one certainty in business is that it's always going to.
Working with Thrivent is so special because they help us with our finances while empowering our love for giving back.
Okay, I was trying to stop the video, but the internet was in a lag. But I wanted you to get the gist of what was being said in that video. And you can always go back and look at it again. But the gist of it is we have to work. We have to be putting in effort to recreate ourselves. And for us as a people, just because you go into business and you start making money, here's the download. Just because you go into business and you start making money and things start going well, do not abandon your creative process. Don't abandon your secret sauce. How did you create this product, this service that's making you money? How did you create it? You created it probably out of a need, probably probably from being stressed out. It probably came from something that was traumatic in your life, or from someone who was going through something. Like a lot of us take grandma's cooking, and grandma came up with a technique for cooking because maybe she didn't have a lot of money. So she learned to stretch and use certain products and stuff like that. Well, then you took and you turned that and you monetized it. That's just an example. You could say, well, all right, I've always been doing this particular product or service, but I lost my mother or cousin at an early age, and I was really close to them. I was very traumatic. It was very traumatic. So I'm going to name the business after them. Usually there is some traumatic situation that you are transforming that caused you to then go into creation. Or let me say it like this. A event happened that had a negative impact on your life, and you use creativity to transform that trauma, and now you're monetizing it. But it's always the creativity that comes as a result of that struggle. A lot of people paint or draw because it's a stress relief for them. And those paintings and those drawings become bestsellers. A lot of people write because it's therapeutic, or they want to just tell a story because they're worried that the story is going to get buried. And then that writing becomes a bestseller. Okay. So there's a lot there, a lot that marries creativity with work or stress or movement. Don't forget that when you start making money in your business. Don't get so caught up in the money flowing, because you better believe that there's some competitor out here that is looking to take over your business, to take over your market share, or to put you out of business. That and I don't want you stressing over that. Just understand that's just the movement of the universe. Things change. People's interests change. People don't have the same taste that they did 30, 40 years ago. Right? So if you still selling, let's say you started selling bell bottoms in the 70s, well, then when you got into the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, those bell bottoms wasn't selling. You had to wait until they now coming back in style. Well, what did you do during the meantime? You had to create something else, is what I'm saying. I think we got the point, and I think we've driven the point home. Work, creativity, reinventing ourselves. And that does not just apply to products and services. It applies to partnerships, relationships. So some of those same companies that were willing to have a DEI program, who now have been sued by those people we talked about in the class yesterday. Then maybe you put together a presentation and find somebody in the company, and you go there and you do a presentation and show them how maybe doing this one-on-one deal with you will still help them to solve the problem that they were looking to address with their DEI program. But because the lawsuits are out there, they can come and work with you on an individual basis. So be creative. If you have a vendor that you are working with and you got that vendor deal, they started offering you your products and services at a certain rate because you were once part of a minority program that they no longer have in place. If that company is in fact truly interested in mitigating the challenges that the DEI program or that vendor supply program was set up to address, then you may be able to have a conversation with certain people and say, hey, we want to do business with you. So how can we be creative and put this together? So be creative with your partnerships. Be creative with, if you're putting a lease together, if you go in and you're getting a brick and mortar space and the space needs fixing up, then there may be some creative things that you can do to tell the landlord, hey, I'll fix the place up. You know, me and my family, we are handy people. We're in the construction business. We'll fix the place up. But once we fix the place up, we're going to need, you know, a 90-day reprieve on rent or something like that. But don't be afraid to be creative. Okay. And look for opportunities with people who are going to work with you and allow that creativity. So if a program no longer exists that you can sign up for and be a part of, because everybody's so afraid of being sued nowadays, then find people and vendors that are willing to be creative. Because it's very difficult to impact one side of the market without impacting the other side. So trust me, there are businesses that are affected by these programs that are being cut out. You just now got to be creative and figure out how do you get in there and find the right people that you can talk to. So just a little bit of work effort, changing up on our part, and we can get around this stuff. Super Sam Clark says, my oldest brother, whom we called Bo Clark, always wanted to stay a construction company. I think he means start a construction company, BC Construction. Well, he passed away from cancer, and I always thought it would be wonderful to start it. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That makes sense. Taking that creativity, right, and tying it with work effort is a really sweet combination. Okay, family. So here's what's up for this week. Tomorrow is Thursday, right? So no lives tomorrow. Nothing tomorrow. I may just show a rerun tomorrow morning. And then Friday morning, we're back live, Friday and Saturday, with our Coffee Talk series. And then hopefully that'll give me the rest of the week to finish getting through this other report. It's an 80-page report, so it's taken a little bit more time. But so that we can get through that report, I'll start posting about it, and then we'll get going with it. If I get through it, you know, between tonight and tomorrow and feel comfortable, we may start Friday. But stay close, stay tuned, and I'll give you guys more information. All right. So have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. What they call is hump day. May Allah bless each and every one of you. I'm wishing each and every one of you more goodness, more love, more peace than you've ever experienced or imagined. And so with that, thank you for listening. Make sure you support. You see the support options that are going across the bottom. I'll say this again. If you guys want to book me for an individual consulting session where you want to get a series of sessions, do it now, because we've got some Sajdah House is about to ramp up. So I'm going to be really busy with the museum. I've got some individual speaking engagements. And so I'll be able to do some of those one-offs where we'll put them into those open slots. But in addition to the museum, I have a couple of other projects that are really starting to ramp up. So if you all are looking for those one-on-one coaching sessions, do it now. Okay. And to accelerate and collapse that timeline, if you go there, book SajdahWendyMuhammad.com, and you buy one session, I'll give you another follow-up session for free. And that's only because I don't see myself being able to do them much. October is going to be iffy, but definitely after October, it's going to be a challenge. Okay. So make sure you support Cash App Sajdah Enterprises, or you can Zelle us, wendy100m@gmail.com. And we're going to come back out and give you more ways. Don't forget that sponsorship opportunities are still available for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as time moves on. All right. Let's see. Somebody made a comment here. How close is the Sajdah House to being completed? Probably a really short couple of months. That's why I'm saying we're going to be ramping up. We're going to be busy. So I've been silently working like a little bee. We got a few things left to do, and then we'll start hiring and ramping up, getting ready for our grand opening. But it's around the corner. So if you want to book your sessions and stuff, do them now, because I don't anticipate being able to do much once the museum gets open. All right. Assalamu alaikum, family. May Allah bless you.
And I'm saying this to all of us. Our people are ready to spend their money with their own. There's no time better than this for 6 or 8 of you to pool your money and look in the community and open up a store to fulfill the needs of our people, and we will support you. It's your time now. That's being a man. Supporting your own people that are in business. Going into business yourself. Think out of the box. What can you create that will put black people to work?